First road race of the season over from Sonoma. Fox's portion of the broadcast over. And Martin Truex Jr. once again won another race in 2018, which means Harvick has won, 4 or 5? I think he's won 5 now. Kyle Busch has won about 3 or 4. Truex has now won 3. Clint Bowyer's won 2. And they have Dillon and Logano. And I don't know if there's anyone else who has won this season. So first road race of the season at Sonoma. It could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot worse as well if not for Cole Pearn. So basically throughout the race, a lot of different, well, not a lot of different pit strategy. There was one pit strategy that you really had to follow if you wanted to win the race, and that was pitting before the stage was over, get that track position for the beginning of the next stage, even though you forfeit stage points. That's something that Truex and Harvick can deal with. They don't need stage points. They already have wins. They don't need points to get into the chase. The only thing that they might give up, that they might regret, maybe a playoff point or 2. But Truex got those playoff points by winning the race anyway, so it doesn't matter. So stage 1 basically came down to it. Harvick and Truex pitted before the end of the stage, and ended up finishing like 10th or 11th or something. And they ended up staying up, taking the race lead over, as about 15 cars had stayed out and finished the stage. Allmendinger won stage 1. Later on, blew up the car, caused a caution for that. Stage 2 was won by Denny Hamlin, but once again, Truex and Harvick had come down pit road and already done their service, so they stayed on the racetrack, took the race lead over, and that would be how they finished it. And pretty much the whole rest of the race went like that. But the best part of the race was with about 30 laps to go, 30 or 40 laps to go in the race. Harvick is leading Truex, and Truex is right there. It's not like he's 10 seconds back or 5 seconds back. He's right there. He's right in the bumper. He's like half a second back, maybe even closer than that. Cole Pearn gets his guys on the wall, tells them, we're going to pit this time. Get ready, guys. We're pitting this time. Harvick's team, was listening to the scanner. They decided not to pick, so Cole Pearn's like, stay out, stay out, stay out. So those two stay on the racetrack another lap. Then once again, Cole Pearn does the same thing. All right, we're pitting this time, guys. Harvick's crew chief is tuning into that 78 radio, says, okay, they're pitting this time. We're going to pit this time, Kevin. We're going to pit this time. Harvick decides to merge into the pit lane. Truex's crew chief, Cole Pearn, says, stay out, stay out, stay out. Keeps Truex out as Harvick comes down pit road. That bluffs Harvick's team now into having to make their pit stop earlier than maybe they wanted to. Truex stays out another 7 to 10 laps longer. So then he has worse tires then, but then later in the race he has better tires. He comes out like 7 seconds behind Harvick, and it only takes him like 10 laps to get up to Harvick and easily get by him. He pulls away. Harvick and a lot of the other teams, knowing we're not going to be able to win unless there's a yellow or unless we do something different, they decide to come into pit road again to get better tires. So in case a yellow does come out, Truex would be a sit and duck out there. He would either have to pit and go to the back of the line. They would be race leaders, or Truex would stay out and get run over on worn tires. Yellow never comes out. Truex wins the race. Harvick second, Bowyer third. I think Chase Elliott got 4th, and I think another SHR car may have gotten a top 5. Or I think Kyle Busch may have gotten a 5th place finish there. So definitely could have been a lot better road race. A lot of people didn't like it due to the fact that it was spread out racing and that there weren't many passes. So I have a few opinions on the race. First of all, let's go with the stages, right? So stages came out. It's kind of a cool concept, with the points and everything. The yellow coming out after the end of each stage. I feel like stages on road courses don't work that well. And the reason for that is since a road course is so long and since laps take so long, you can pit before the end of a stage and not lose a lap. And that's the thing. Truex and Harvick, they knew they could pit without losing a lap. So when they did that, that's really the only strategy that was going to work out. Because then once you pit, you can stay out, you get the track position, you do the same thing, you get the track position for the last stage, and you end up just pulling away and winning. Which kind of ruins road racing in my opinion, because you kind of want, you want differing strategies, and the only strategies that really came out during the stages was either pitting right before the pits closed for the stage, or staying out and getting the stage points. Later in the race, there was definitely more strategy. Harvick pitting in pitting early, getting the tires early, but then Truex's team splitting the segment in half, and they had some drivers that came down split in thirds to get tires for the end. So there was more strategy then, but I feel like that was kind of forced by the stages and all that. So I feel like if you say, well, get rid of stages at road courses, that's kind of like, well, NASCAR is inconsistent again, and people don't like inconsistent. But if people want the inconsistency, NASCAR will probably go with it, but then they'll probably complain about changing the rules again and making it inconsistent or whatever. In my mind, what they should do, and this is something I've kind of, ever since maybe last year at some point, I've kind of wanted this. Not really wanted it, but I've kind of had this thought, was keep the stages, right? So that, because otherwise, this is the point I make. Keep the stages, but get rid of the yellows that get thrown. Once they cross the line, say the stages end at lap 100, and then lap 200, and then you have a 200 lap stage to the end. So the stage ends at lap 100. Once they cross the line, complete lap 100, the top 10 get the points, right? But they keep it green. Once they cross the line at lap 200, the people get the points, but they keep green. Someone had said, well, what's the stages don't matter then if there's no yellow, because the original thing of the stages was, we're gonna get commercial breaks in for the broadcast, that they air less commercials during the race. Well, that's obviously not happening. They aired so many commercials all the time that it doesn't matter if there were stages or not. There's always going to be commercials during green flag racing anyway, so just get rid of that, and that's fine. You're just missing more green flag racing. It's something that would happen anyway. You probably miss the same amount of green flag racing, honestly. But, and then my point of that is the stages still matter for a ton of drivers, because those stage points that you get, that could be the determining factor of making the chase or not. If you get a lot of stage points, you're definitely going to get over a driver who gets no stage points. And on top of that, a driver could win both stages, right? So then they get 2 playoff points, win both stages, dominating the race. With 15 laps to go, runs over a piece of debris and cuts a tire down, has to get to pit road, loses a lap or two, and then falls to 24th. Well, they finish at 24th, right? But then they get the points for finishing 4th because they got 20 points overall, which is something that I like about it, because you can have a bad day. You can have something go wrong at the end, even though you had such a great first half of the race, but you won't get you'll get penalized still for it, but you won't get crucified for it, you ran over this debris. Sorry, but, you got 36th. Well, instead of getting 36, you may have gotten the points for 16th, which kind of lessens the blow. It's still bad, but it may lessen the blow depending on how many stage points you got. And I just think it'd make it kind of cool. And without the yellows, right? Then you're consistent throughout the whole thing. Well, there's no yellows in the Daytona 500. There's no yellows in the Cobalt 400. There's no yellows in the Toyota Save Mart 350 either. So they kind of and then it allows road course strategies to play out, and even maybe more road course strategies. Someone might want stage points, so they stay out, but there's no yellow coming. So they know they have to pit at some point, but they stay out until the end of the stage, and then they'll have to pit anyway. And those drivers that pitted earlier, they could push harder, and it would kind of make road course racing maybe the strategy a little bit better. Maybe there would be more strategies that come out instead of just the normal strategies that happen anyway. And now another thing about the race, I said not a lot of people liked it. I have liked a good amount of the races this year. There have been some races that I haven't liked. This was one of them where I kind of about it. I like the racing, but the stages kind of ruined it a little bit for me. But here's something that I think is why I've been more optimistic about the season than most. I don't have a favorite NASCAR driver anymore. I think that's played a big role into why I feel like I do with some of these races. Because if I go back to 2016, the first half of 2016, the first half of 2017, 2015, 2014. If there was a race where Junior was doing really bad, I was pissed over it, right? In 2014, the second Dover race, Junior rode around 20th. I think the best he was the whole race, 15th, right? I honestly can only say from that race, Junior ran poorly, Gordon won the race. I don't remember anything else that happened. For all I know, there could have been a big 15-car pilot, but I don't remember that race for that. I remember the race because Junior sucked and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, not having a driver allows you to focus on the race for the race and not the race for your driver. Another example is 2015 at Dover, the second Dover race again. That race was a roller coaster of emotions. The only thing I remember from that race, Junior starting up front, staying around 10th, and then making some adjustments, but then they came out 7th or something, then had loose wheels, and they went to the back of the pack, and they came back up, and then while he's ahead of McMurray, he has a vibration, and then yellow comes out. He had a loose wheel. Yellow comes out for debris or something. And then I remember him coming into pit road, McMurray getting ahead of him, Junior then falling back outside the chase cuff. Then another yellow comes out for someone blowing an engine, and then on the restart gets by McMurray and finishes third. And I remember Harvick won. I don't remember, in fact, just looking back on the 2015 race at Dover, a few weeks ago, I just now remembered that Johnson had that issue where it knocked him out of the chase, and that was the only reason Junior advanced in the chase. So I feel like a lot of these races kind of get tainted depending on who your favorite driver is. Now, obviously, if you're a Truex fan or a Harvick fan, you might be liking this season. But if you're someone like, I don't know, a driver who hasn't won, Jimmy Johnson, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, Kyle Larson, someone like that, Brad Keselowski, someone who hasn't won, but someone who's kind of been doing all right, but they haven't won yet, you might be like, well, this race sucks, like there's no competition. But there may be good racing at the back of the pack that they show, but you don't care about it because it's not your driver involved. And why should you care about it if it's not your driver? I was that way for a lot of it. 2016, I was very mad about most of the races because Junior did not finish top 10 a lot of those races they ran that season. 2017, the first half, I was mad until he announced his retirement. I think once he announced his retirement, I think it was like after Daytona, I kind of mellowed out and realized he wasn't going to win unless Talladega, and then the only race after Daytona that I was kind of on edge about was Talladega. But after that, I wasn't really on edge about any race because I was like, well, he's not going to win. What's the point? I'm just going to watch the race for the race. And I enjoyed them. I feel like not having a favorite driver, not obsessing about how that driver's doing, really helps with how the race just looks and feels. I can watch the race for the race and not the race for my driver, which really helps because normally I'd be on Twitter like, oh my gosh, why is Junior running 25th and why is he about to go a lap down? What's wrong with the car? Why is the car so bad? Instead, I could just be like, well, look at that. That's a great three-way battle for 4th, or that's a really cool three-wide battle there, or that's a cool battle for 7th, or whatever. And instead of just being like, well, this sucks. He's running 17th. Why is he running 17th? How about you focus on him? I don't care that Truex is winning. I don't care that this is happening. I just think that's why that maybe I felt a little bit better about the season rather than, a season where maybe Junior was still running and he was running like 15th. Maybe that's why. I don't know if that's why. I just feel like that's why because this is the first season I've really watched without a favorite driver. And I guess that's why. But something else that's made me enjoy this season is the lack of fake debris yellows. As we know, NASCAR used to throw a lot of debris cautions, but after last season, the first Michigan race, where there was a plastic bag on the backstretch and they threw a yellow for it with about 20 to go, cost Kyle Busch the win. Drivers kind of came out about like, hey, what's with these debris cautions? There doesn't need to be a debris caution unless there's something on the track that could definitely provide a hazard to the cars. Ever since then, they have not thrown a debris caution that I don't think is really that was kind of fake. I think this season there's been 4 debris cautions. There was one at Daytona, one at Richmond, one at Talladega, one at Pocono. I don't think there are any others anywhere else. 4 debris cautions among 16, 15 races, something like that, which is very nice because back, and that's another reason. Back when I had a favorite driver, Dale Jr., if he was running 17th, about to go lap down, I'd be praying for yellow. I'd be like, I don't care if there's a phantom piece of debris out there. You can throw the yellow. There is something on that racetrack. I don't care what it is. It's in my imagination. It's on the racetrack. Throw that caution flag so he doesn't go lap down. But now without a favorite driver, I'm like, well, why would I want a yellow? If it's playing out naturally, just let it play out naturally. Don't do anything to kind of ruin the flow of the race and make it exciting, because that's not really. That's not what racing's supposed to be. Racing's supposed to be the most, natural thing ever. But if you keep throwing yellows at the end to try and provide excitement for the fans, entertainment, because fans are complaining, well, Truex keeps winning Harvick and Kyle Busch, that's fine. You know why they keep winning? They're with the best teams. The teams have found the most downforce, and they are the best drivers in the sport at this moment in time. And then the newer drivers can't. The newer drivers aren't going to be a factor to those drivers that are veterans because, first of all, the drivers that have been in the Cup Series for so long, they know how to handle a car with less downforce. The Xfinity drivers come through the field up until, I think last season was the first season they used that weird aero package. But like 2015, 2014, 2013, those drivers in the Xfinity Series had cars that had a lot of downforce. And now the Cup cars don't have a lot of downforce. So the cars are so much different. You could go back to Busch Series from 2004, 2003. In 2004, when Dale Jr. swept the Bristol races, the Bristol night races, he used the same shocks on the Busch Series car as he did on the Cup Series car, which is something you probably cannot do nowadays because the cars are so different, which is why I think the cars have to be more the same for, younger drivers to do better. There's such a big learning curve now because the cars are so different that the younger drivers aren't going to be doing as well as the veteran drivers who have been in those cars for so long. So that's my opinion on that as well, and that's why, drivers are dominating like they are. So I don't know if there's much more to say about that, other than NBC is up next for their coverage. They start Chicagoland, Daytona, Kentucky, New Hampshire, and some others after that. I don't really remember the schedule that much. I think it goes like New Hampshire, and then it goes some weird, like maybe Pocono or something, and then Watkins Glen or something. I don't know. I know it's all messed up now because Indy's the last race before the Chase or something. So, yeah, I feel like that was my opinion on the road course races. Oh, I also wanted to mention how it was kind of maybe a bad week for motorsports in terms of racing. The F1 race was just a normal F1 race. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race was pretty dull. Not much happened. The Road America race for IndyCar had 2 lead changes, and the 2 lead changes were Joseph Newgarden led a lot. I think the race was 55 laps long. He led 53 of the 55 laps. And that's another thing I wanted to point out, too, because, like, NASCAR drivers will get mad about that, right? Like, if a driver, like the Coca-Cola 600, everyone hated that because Kyle Busch dominated, not because of the racing behind, right? Kyle Busch dominated. Newgarden led 53 of the 55 laps. And I went on the IndyCar page, Twitter page, and looked at, like, one of the tweets had, like, the most replies about the race. And I don't remember seeing one negative comment about the race on there. I remember seeing great racing, that was cool. Hey, Joseph Newgarden won, something like that. But there was not one about, wow, only, 2 different leaders, and one of them was probably because of pit stops, Like, oh, what is this? Newgarden led 53, 55 laps. This sucks. In NASCAR world, if someone led 53, 55 laps, you were getting ready to be crucified because of how bad the race was. In IndyCar world, that's apparently good racing because they appreciate the racing that was going on behind it. Rather than, oh, well, this driver led most of the laps, so obviously the race sucked. If a driver leads every lap, but there's good racing behind, I'm fine. If the driver leads every lap and it sucks behind, then I don't like it. So, yeah, that's my opinion about that. So NBC's up next. Hope they do well. Hope they improve on what Fox was doing. I'll see you guys for the next one.